Hi everyone, this is Amanda with Sew Fairy Fun, and today we are going to sew together project 1 from my sewing kit collection, which is the Bookmark. So in your kit you have 4 pieces of fabric. I'm going to show you how to construct one of those, and the process will be the same for the second one. So you have 2 pieces of fabric for each bookmark, and on the back in the fabric that was sent in the kit, I have already applied Pellon SF101. This is a stabilizer which just makes your fabric just a little bit more stiff, which is nice for this project, especially when we get to the last step, which is cutting it with pinking shears. Having that SF101 just also helps keep the edges of your fabric from unraveling. So the first thing we're going to do is flip over one of the pieces of fabric so that you're looking at the wrong side of the fabric. This is the right side of your fabric, which makes sense because it's the pretty side. And the wrong side of your fabric on the bookmark has your SF101 applied. If you're making your own at home after you've already made the 2 that come in the kit, you don't have to apply SF101. It will still work just fine without it. But if you would like to add it, you can find it at your local quilt shop or also at Hobby Lobby. So we're going to flip it over so that one of them has the wrong side facing up. And then you're going to grab your bookmark tassel. I will have a link in this video at the top where you can purchase these. You can also just search online on Amazon for bookmark tassel. You could also use ribbon. It's totally up to you. I like to measure down about 1 inch from the top. This doesn't have to be exact, just around 1 inch from the top. And you want to have about 1 inch going from the top of your bookmark up to that knot. And I like to add a piece of tape way out of where the stitch lines are, because you don't want to sew over tape. Your needle will not like that. So if you look, you can see that I've left a nice space on either side of where the tape is, so I'm sure that I'm not going to sew through that. But I do like to add the tape because it holds on this tassel for you while you're sewing. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to lay your second piece of fabric wrong sides together so that you're now looking at the pretty side. And then we're going to clip all along the edge of the bookmark. So I took my heat erasable pen and just made a mark to show you visually before I place it under here where we want to line up our needle to drop down to start sewing. So we're about 3/8 of an inch away from the left side and about 3/8 of an inch away from the top. And when you line up your fabric, we're going to line it up with the top edge lined up with the very edge of your presser foot. And then you're just going to scoot it down until when you lower that presser foot and you drop the needle, it's going to be about 3/8 of an inch away from the left side. And then your fabric will be lined up right here with the edge of your presser foot for the top. I also do like to use a magnetic seam guide like this to help keep it straight, but for the top, you don't really want to use that because it'll just block the tassel from going through nicely. So if you are wanting to use one of these tools, just don't use it yet. Get across the top edge and then you can put it on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my needle, make sure I'm happy with the placement. You can lift the presser foot and just make sure that you're happy, and mine is lined up where I would like it to be. And then you're going to go ahead and sew. When we start sewing, you always want to lock your stitches. And the way to do that is you're going to sew forward a few stitches and then you're going to sew backwards a few stitches. So it's going to look like this. Forward, 1, 2, 3, and stop. And then you're going to reverse 2 or 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and stop. And then you're going to go forward again all the way until your next spot where you're going to be turning, which in our case is going to be when we get to about 3/8 of an inch away from this side. I'm going to take this clip out. We don't want to sew over clips. So I think I'm about 3/8 of an inch away now. So I'm going to stop sewing. I'm going to leave my needle in the down position, which is where it will stop on its own. I'm going to lift my presser foot and I'm going to turn that bookmark so that it's towards me now. And then you lower your presser foot and you check your alignment. I'm almost exactly lined up with the edge of my presser foot, which this project, that would be fine. But let's say I was a little further away than I wanted to be. Just twirl it back. You can even use the hand crank to go forward one more stitch and then check it again. So again, I'm lifting the presser foot, I'm turning it towards me, and I'm lowering. And now I can see that it's lined up pretty perfectly with the edge of my presser foot, and I'm gonna go ahead and keep sewing. I do not have to lock my stitches here because I pivoted. So those stitches are still locked in. So now is a good time, if you're using one of these magnetic guides, go ahead and put it on. This just makes it a little bit easier to keep your stitch line straight, because you know that your job is to just keep your fabric lined up right here along the edge of your magnetic guide, which is also lined up right with the edge of your presser foot. So then we're going to go ahead and sew this line until we get to about 3/8 of an inch away from the bottom of our bookmark. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit. You do not have to go fast. There's no prize for finishing your bookmark first. Take your time. Just focus on keeping it nice and straight. So as I get to this corner, I'm going to stop it when I think I'm about 3/8 of an inch away from the edge. I think I'm just about there, maybe one more. Again, I do not have to lock my stitches because I'm pivoting. So all I did there was my needle stayed down, I lifted the presser foot, and I turned the bookmark towards me. And now, same thing. I'm going to sew until I get to about 3/8 of an inch away from here. There we go. Okay, same thing. One more pivot. Lift the presser foot. Rotate your bookmark towards you. Now we're sewing this one last side. We are not going to pivot when we get to the end. We're going to lock our stitches here. So we're going to lower our presser foot, sew forward until we meet up with the stitch line that we started with. And when we get there, we're going to lock our stitches. And again, that's just by going, we're going to meet this line, then we're going to reverse a few stitches, which I'll show you in just 1 second. Go, and I'm gonna stop when I get to those stitches. I met up with it pretty close. I'm gonna reverse 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna go forward 1, 2, 3, and then you can go ahead and cut your thread. Every machine does that a little bit differently. Lift your presser foot, make sure your needle is raised up out of your fabric, and then you can take a look at your bookmark, and we will go ahead and just snip these little threads right here. So once you've used your scissors to cut those little thread tails that are left, this part, the sewing part of your bookmark, is done. One thing I do recommend is pinking shears, which look like this. And they just have this zigzag to them, which leaves a cool effect on the fabric, but it's dual purpose because it also helps keep the edges of your fabric from fraying. But if you don't have this kind of scissors at home, it's okay. You can just use regular scissors, that's fine too. Or you can order them on Amazon, they're about $10. So what you're gonna do is you're going to trim all of the edges of your bookmark, making sure that you're leaving a safe distance between where it's cutting and those stitches you just sewed, because it would be really sad if you just did all of that work and then you cut your stitches. That would be bad. So for the top, you have to be careful, because what we don't want to do is accidentally chop off your tassel. So the way that I make sure I do that is I'm going to fold back the tassel and that other side of fabric, and I'm going to flip it so that I can see exactly where I'm cutting. And I'm going to cut right along here. I know I'm not cutting off anything that I don't mean to. And then we're going to flip it over and do the same thing. This is just to be sure that you can see exactly where you're cutting. And don't cut anything that you didn't want to. And then you're going to trim the other two sides. Once you're done trimming, you have a finished bookmark. Once you have finished cutting along the edges of your bookmark, project 1, your bookmark is complete.